Hello and very warm welcome to all on this platform. Uh, Today I'll be sharing with you uh, the introductory part of the income tax subject, and income tax as subject is said to be quite complicated, and yes, it is. There are certain reasons for it. We will reach those reasons and we'll discuss about them. Just to begin with, uh, income tax is said to be a direct tax. Direct tax means the person whoever pays the tax, the same person bears the ultimate burden or incidence of that tax. That person cannot transfer this burden on any other person. So such taxes are called direct taxes, and income tax is one such major tax. This income tax is major source of revenue for the government, and this tax is levied by the central government and collected by the central government, and the tax proceedings they are utilized by the central government, they are shared with the state government. As far as the administration of this income tax is concerned, obviously government has many ministries. One major ministry is Ministry of Finance, and income tax is directly administered by the income tax department. And this income tax department, it is in full charge of the administration of this income tax. But this income tax department, this works under the Central Board of Direct Taxes, which again comes under the Department of Revenue. Ministry of Finance has many departments. Department of Revenue is one of them, and this Central Board of Direct Taxes, this falls under the control of Department of Revenue, and in turn, Central Board of Direct Taxes this controls or directs the Income Tax Department for the administration of direct taxes. So this is one way of seeing uh, how the income tax is administered in India. Apart uh, from administration, if we go back to the history of income tax, though it is not much necessary to talk about it, but still, just one needs to know that this history goes back to 1860, when it was imposed. The income tax was imposed by the Britishers, and in 1886, uh, the act was passed by the Britishers. Again, in 1918 and 1922 and 1939, income tax act was revised. New act, new acts were passed. Finally, today, as we talk about today the Income Tax Act 1961 is in force. Obviously, it's quite old, almost 60 years, and many amendments to this act have already been made by the government at different times. Moreover, another thing, another thing which makes it more complicated is that every year there are certain changes are made in the regarding direct taxes and income tax also. Every year when the budget is presented, uh, almost necessarily certain changes are made in either administration of direct taxes or rates of income tax or anything, something like that. Whatever changes are made annually uh, in the finance bill, later on when this bill is passed, this becomes Finance Act. And when it becomes Finance Act, then it becomes a part of the Income Tax Act 1961. So what I mean to say that it is not only Income Tax Act 1961 that governs uh, this whole administration of income tax. Along with it, there is Finance Act, which is passed every year. It becomes a part of the act. Apart from it, there are many things. Any amendment can be made by the government with at any time of the year. That will also be an integral part of the act. Moreover, government notifications by the government, uh, circulars which are issued by the CBDT again, Central Board of Direct Taxes. They can issue circulars regarding any issue or clarification in the income tax. Moreover, there are courts, there are judicial decisions, judicial pronouncements. So these judicial decisions or pronouncements, they also become a part of the act. So whole thing, which is started with only the Income Tax Act 1961, every year something new is added through Finance Act. At different times, some new things are added either by the notifications by the government or by the circulars which are issued by the Central Board of Direct Taxes. Moreover, in case of certain court cases, there may be some judicial pronouncements or decisions which also become a part of the Income Tax Act. So you can see, as an act, it is 6 years old already, and every year new Finance Act, almost every year, new Finance Act has added something to it. Government has made many amendments, many notifications, circulars, and decisions. They have also become a part of this act. So result is that this act has become quite complicated for everyone, not only for tax authorities but for taxpayers as well. For taxpayers, it is very difficult for an ordinary taxpayer. It is very difficult to understand it. So government has also taken steps for addressing this problem, and many committees have been formed, and these committees have given their recommendations as to how the income tax structure should be simplified. Many of such recommendations, they have been implemented by the government as well, but still, despite all the efforts made by the government, this act continues to be a complicated one and difficult one for an ordinary person to understand. However, as you are studying this subject, so you have to go through the provisions of this act and understand them, at least whatever is necessary for you uh, for understanding this subject and clarifying all the things regarding computation of income tax. So we'll try to make it simpler by starting from beginning. It is said, generally said, that a person's total income of the previous year is assessed in the assessment year. This is the most basic statement regarding income tax, that a person's total income of the previous year is assessed in the assessment year. So if you want to understand this statement, there are certain terms in this statement. Person, what is person? Total income, what is total income? Previous year, what is previous year? Assessment year, what is assessment year? You have to understand all these terms. So there are certain very basic, important terms that should be understood clearly before moving on to the computation aspect of income tax. Now, these are those terms: person, assessment year, previous year, SSC, And after that, what is income? What is gross total income? What is total income? And later on, we'll talk about agricultural income. So, one more thing I would like to say that I'm explaining all these terms here, but exact definition and their detailed explanations, they're available in all the books of income tax, which have been authored by different people. And there are certain very good books. You can select any one of them, and you must have a base book, which is of latest edition also, that will serve the purpose. So you got to have that book, and you can move on with that. So income tax is imposed on income. Okay, one thing which is clear: income. We will talk about what is income and what are the different aspects of income later on. Okay, tax is supposed to be levied on income, but income of what period? There should be a period: income of one day, income of 2 days, income of week, income of a month, income of 6 months, income of 1 year or 2 years, something like that. You have to specify the period for which the income which is earned is to be taxed. So this period is here denoted by previous year and assessment year. So first, we will talk about these two terms: previous year and assessment year. Then we will move on to other basic components or the basic terms which should be understood clearly. Okay, let's move on to assessment year. What is assessment year? You must have used the term financial year often, particularly when you have been studying final accounts or financial statements. Then a term must have this term of financial year must have come before you. So, what is financial year? Financial year normally this year begins on 1st of April of any year and ends on 31st March of the next year. For example, last 30th March, 31st March was 2020, and the beginning of that year was April 1st, 2019. So this was the financial year, beginning on 1st April 2019 and ending on 31st of March 2020. So this financial year becomes the base for understanding assessment year and previous year. As uh, you can see here in this part, generally income of the previous year is assessed in the following financial year, that is the assessment year. Now, what does this mean? This simply means that income is earned in the previous year and it is assessed. Assessed mean estimation of income and finally levying tax upon it. So assessment is done in the assessment year. So once the period for which you are calculating the income, that period completes, then only you will be in a position to compute the total income earned during that particular period. So if we start from 1st of April 2019, and when we reach toward the end of the financial year, 31st of March 2020, that means during these 12 months, income has been earned. Now, this period will be called previous year. This will be called previous year. And we will call it previous year 1920. And obviously, when this period is over, then the person can start to uh, calculate the total income for this period and go on towards computing tax and depositing the tax if any liability is pending, or if the person has paid excess tax to the government, then the person should claim a refund from the government, and the person has to return to file the return for the income. So all these proceedings, they are carried out. All these activities regarding assessment, they are carried out in the assessment year. And assessment year, it starts immediately after completion of previous year. That means this is completion of previous year, and from 1st April 2020, the assessment year will start, and it will go on to 31st March of next year. So this is assessment year. Previous year 2019-20, assessment year 2021. So for the previous year 1920, assessment year is 2021, or vice versa. For the assessment year 2021, the previous year is 1920. So whatever income has been earned during this period, it is going to be assessed during this period. So this is the general rule. This is the general rule. There could be certain exceptions. Yes, there could be certain exceptions that when the income is earned, then it is taxed. That means in the previous year, it is assessed also. But those are exceptional cases. We'll talk about them just a few minutes later. But it's very clearly, it is very essential to understand this concept of previous year and assessment year, because when we are talking about this currently, the previous year which we are talking about, that is 2019-20, and the assessment year which we are talking about, that is 2021. So every previous year has an assessment year, and every assessment year uh, has a previous year. So this is general rule regarding this previous year and assessment year, but there could be certain exceptions, as I have already said. Uh, and those exceptions, I'm going to talk about it. But one thing you must understand, that this concept is to be cleared, because as I had said earlier, that for every year there could be certain changes in the income tax that may be introduced through the Finance Act. And those changes will be included in the particular assessment year in which that act is passed in that particular year. So those changes are related to the particular financial year, which obviously must be a previous year or assessment year for some future year, coming years. So it is it should be understood very clearly, because in case of tax rates and income slabs, which may be revised every year through the Finance Act, computation of all the computation for a particular assessment year or previous year, they have to be done according to the provisions of the act for that particular assessment year or previous year. So generally, the person's total income of the previous year is supposed to be assessed in the assessment year, which simply means that income is earned in the previous year and its assessment is carried out in the assessment year. But there are certain situations where this rule is not observed. These are exceptional cases, and uh, in these cases, assessment of a person's income is carried out immediately in the same year in which the income is earned. And this is simply done with the view that every possibility should be ruled out. Every possibility of what? Tax evasion or loss of tax revenue to the government. If there is any possibility of tax evasion, or if there is any possibility that if the completion of previous year is waited for, then the government is lose the tax revenue. So if the situation is such, then this general rule is not observed and the income is taxed immediately. So what are these situations? Number one, the first situation is when we are talking about the income of non-residents from shipping business. These SSE is non-resident, is in shipping business, and SSE is collecting freight from a port in India. So the SSE is getting income from the India, and SSE has no representative in India. So once the SSE ship leaves the Indian port, it will be very difficult to collect, to find out the tax revenue and to find out the income of that SSE and collect tax upon it. So immediately, as soon as this non-resident in the shipping business collects freight from Indian port, 7.5% of the such freight or income is considered to be taxable income, and tax is imposed immediately at the same time. Second is the case when a person is planning to leave India permanently, or a person is going abroad for a very long period, and the person has no representative in India, then also it would be difficult for the government to get tax from this person if the tax authorities wait for the completion of previous year. So again, before this person leaves India, the person's income is assessed and tax is collected immediately. Similarly, there could be cases where association of persons, body of individuals, they are formed for a particular event or purpose. They're not given any name like a firm or company or something like that. Simply, an association is formed between persons, or a body of individual is formed for some specific cause or event or purpose. So as soon as this purpose is served or event is complete, that association is the association goes off. So again, the within the completion of such event, cause or purpose, the income of this association or body of individual is assessed and taxes collected. Similarly, if a business is discontinued or a profession is discontinued during the previous year, so again, its income will be calculated immediately, tax will be collected. Similarly, a person who is trying to transfer the property to avoid taxes, so tax authorities may take cognition of it, and they can go on to collect tax immediately within the previous year from that person. So these are exception cases, but normally the income of previous year is supposed to be assessed in the assessment year. And now we'll talk about another important thing. I have used the term person often in this discussion. So what is a person here? Person includes, as you can see on your screen, an individual, a Hindu undivided family, HUF, Hindu avibhajit parivar, a company, a firm, partnership firm, an association of person. Individual means any person, Mr. X, Mr. Y, Miss X, Mrs. Y, anyone, individual capacity. And HUF, as we all know, in Indian context, HUF is quite a common model of running a family, even running the businesses. So this is also included in a person. It has a separate entity for the income tax purposes. Company, partnership firm, association of person, and or a body of individuals. Body of individuals, if two or more individuals unite for carrying out some activity, that is body of individuals. Mr. X along with Miss Y, they join each other for some event, for some business. They don't give it a formal name, so this would be called a body of individual. Association of person. Association of persons mean if of these persons, any two or more, they unite for some cause. Like a company and a firm, they come together for carrying on some business or some business activities. So this will be called an association of person. Apart from it, a local authority in the form of municipal corporation or district boards, etc., they are also considered person. They are also included in person definition of person under the Act. And moreover, every artificial juridical person which does not fall in the previous categories, it is also included in person, like an idol. They, ये जो देवी देवता हैं, यूनिवर्सिटीज हैं, कुछ भी इसमें आइडल्स ऑफ वर्शिप है, इसमें कोई भी हो सकते हैं, राइट। तो if you consider it properly, then you will find out almost uh, everyone is included in person. There's hardly anything left, anyone left. The person includes everyone, almost every individual or group of individuals, commercial institutions or non-commercial institutions, all fall within the definition of persons. All are included in the definition of person. So income tax spares no one. All are welcome. And lastly, I will take another basic concept, SSC. SSC Kardata. What is included in SSC? Any person who is liable to pay any tax or any amount to the government under this act is called an SSC. कोई भी आदमी जिसको कोई भी व्यक्ति, कोई भी करदाता, कोई भी व्यक्ति जिसको सरकार को, गवर्नमेंट को कोई टैक्स पे करना है या कुछ और देना है इस एक्ट आयकर अधिनियम के तहत, उसको हम एसएससी कह सकते हैं। वी कैन कॉल दैट पर्सन एन एसएससी। या फिर सेकंड पॉइंट आप देख सकते हैं, नेक्स्ट पॉइंट देख सकते हैं, इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ होम एनी प्रोसीडिंग अंडर दिस एक्ट हैज बीन टेकन, यानी जिस व्यक्ति के लिए इस अधिनियम के तहत कोई कार्रवाई शुरू कर दी गई है। कैसी कार्रवाई? नंबर वन, फॉर द असेसमेंट ऑफ फॉर द असेसमेंट ऑफ हिज इनकम, उस व्यक्ति की आय के निर्धारण के लिए, या द इनकम ऑफ एनी अदर पर्सन, दूसरे व्यक्ति की आय के निर्धारण के लिए, इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ विच ही इज असेसेबल, जिसके संबंध में पहला व्यक्ति उत्तरदायी है। ये रिप्रेजेंटेटिव केसेस में होता है। इवन अगर लॉस भी हो रहा है किसी को, तो उस लॉस के असेसमेंट के लिए भी कार्रवाई शुरू की जा सकती है। फॉर द रिफंड ऑफ द टैक्सेस पेड बाय हिम और बाय सच अदर पर्सन, जैसा कि पहले ही मैंने कहा था कि अगर टैक्स बाकी है तो टैक्स लायबिलिटी बनती है, जो कि इस पहले पॉइंट पे कवर हो रही है। और अगर किसी ने ज्यादा टैक्स पे कर दिया है गवर्नमेंट को, जो उसकी इनकम पे आने वाले टैक्स से अधिक है, तो उसका रिफंड के लिए क्लेम कर सकता है। सो फॉर द रिफंड ऑफ द टैक्सेस पेड बाय हिम, तो जिस व्यक्ति पे ये कार्रवाई शुरू कर दी गई है वो भी करदाता होता है। एंड फाइनली दिस टर्म, द पर्सन हु इज डीम्ड टू बी एन एसएससी, deemed to be an SSC, and the other one is SSC in default. These two terms are critical here. So, what is this deemed to be SSC? This happens in case of uh, persons who have either passed away, or such persons may be foreigner or a minor or a lunatic or not mentally stable. So these people are not capable of filing their returns, so they have got either their heirs in case of the deceased, or the representatives, that is in case of a foreigner or a minor or a lunatic person. So either these legal heirs or the representatives of such persons, they are called deemed SSE in respect of the income of the assessment of income of such persons, foreigner, minor, lunatic or the deceased. तो ये लोग खुद अपनी डायरेक्टली असेसमेंट, अपनी इनकम का असेसमेंट नहीं कर सकते हैं, रिटर्न फाइल नहीं कर सकते हैं, तो इन लोग की तरफ से जो उनके रिप्रेजेंटेटिव होते हैं, प्रतिनिधि होते हैं, वो करते हैं। या अगर किसी व्यक्ति की मृत्यु हो गई है, तो उसका जो भी लीगल हेयर, जो भी उसका कानूनी उत्तराधिकारी होता है, वो ये रिटर्न फाइल कर सकता है। एसएससी इन डिफॉल्ट, एसएससी इन डिफॉल्ट का मतलब यहाँ पर सिंपली ये है, द इनकम टैक्स एक्ट हैज पुट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज on certain persons. There are certain obligations under the act which certain persons should fulfill. They have to fulfill. If they don't fulfill these obligations, they will be treated as SSC in default. तो अधिनियम भी अपनी तरफ से कुछ लोगों पर कुछ काम करने की जिम्मेदारी डालता है। वो लोग उस काम को अगर नहीं करेंगे, तो भी उनको एसएससी इन डिफॉल्ट, डिफॉल्ट का मतलब यहाँ गलती करना या कोई चूक करना, तो चूक में करदाता या एसएससी इन डिफॉल्ट, इनको यहाँ पर कहा जाता है। तो इतनी चीजें, अभी ये कुछ बेसिक कंसेप्ट अभी बचे ही है, जैसा कि आपने शुरू में देखा था। मैंने मेरे ख्याल से आपको शुरू में चीजें एक स्लाइड दिखाई थी, उसमें काफी चीजें थी। तो इसमें कुछ चीजें तो हम लोग ने टेकअप की हैं। मैंने बताया आपको कि असेसमेंट ईयर क्या है, प्रीवियस ईयर क्या है, एसएससी क्या है, हमने पर्सन के बारे में बातें की, इसमें क्या-क्या चीजें शामिल होती हैं. As far as the remaining things are concerned, like income, gross total income, or other things like agricultural income, or even some other topics, we'll cover them in next lecture. For now on, just you can focus on these basic issues. You can consult your books and move forward to the other important aspects of income tax. And I must say that you should be very careful in reading these concepts, because once uh, you move on to the computation of income tax, then it will be very difficult to go back and understand these terms again. So it is advised that you go through them and try to understand them completely. So we'll meet again in the next lecture. Till then, take all the precautions, necessary precautions, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.